Right at that exact moment, the cat started pounding on my butt cheeks with his paws. So that was what that look was.
The cat.
I really want. I don't know which one.
Oh, we turned into a cat. What?
Great costume, Dan. You look awesome.
All right.
Gives new meaning to the duelists.
Oh, Jesus. All right, what's next?
Let's start off with, we're of course talking 2021's Dune. Before we start, did anyone here not like the movie?
I loved it. I didn't like it.
Crickets.
Okay.
Yes, I loved it.
Okay. We're gonna start real quick by doing just an overview, and then we will get into spoilers. I'm going to put up a massive spoiler. I will put up a spoiler warning so that we can actually have a conversation about this movie. So,
right. First off, I just want to say that despite having to watch it on HBO Max because it's not in theaters here until December, we have seen it.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yes. So we had to watch this at home. Which it was disappointing, but
I still loved it.
I still really enjoyed it. I still think this is a great movie, and I'm really glad that I got to watch it. That I got to see it, and I didn't have to wait 3 months.
Yeah.
So we got to watch it on, and I did the right thing. I had my phone away from me. I sat down and I watched the movie.
You had your customary movie theater bathroom break right in the middle where you didn't pause it because
didn't pause it. I was like, nope. I'm making this like a movie theater. I'm running the bathroom, running
Had the
back.
popcorn and everything.
So it's.
Where do you want to start with this? How do you want to do this?
I am going to go around. Abby, you didn't get so I'm going to go to the three that weren't able to have any contribution to our last movie. So, Abby, what did you think of Dune? Considering I'm pretty sure you're the one who's seen this earliest out of everyone on this panel.
Yes, I'm from Chicago, and I was there last weekend, and I saw it at the Chicago Film Festival with Laura Kelly. I did not see her, and I found out later on Twitter she was also there. And I was mad that I didn't run into her, but anyway, besides the point. I saw it on Monday and I loved it. I knew nothing about Dune going in. I hadn't seen the old movie with that one guy from that thing.
Fair.
What's his
Adam is like heartbroken right now. I just want to tell you that. Like Adam is really heartbroken.
That man
I'll
loves
watch
David
it.
Lynch.
It made me want to watch. Okay. I love this movie. It was like Star Wars, but good. Like, and that's like, but like that, and that's not even like a hate crime because like
right now.
I do love Star Wars, and I feel like that should be stated. But it was like artistic, like it was like just I don't know. It was more cinematic to me. Wow, I'm a film kid, and I'm talking about movies like this. But anyway, I really loved it. I thought. At first I was like, do I hate like just the structure that the film had? But I'm kind of here for it now. Like the more that I like sit with the film, and I am excited for part 2. I think that Timothée Chalamet he did very good. I think Rebecca Ferguson is definitely the standout. I loved her acting, and yeah, I loved it. That's my Dune review.
Adam.
Hey. So this movie had so much lead up to it. It's kind of astonishing. I feel like Villeneuve made it very clear for a while that this was his passion project, and I've always felt that Blade Runner 2049 was his dry run at this. You could do a lot worse. So after Blade Runner 2049 impressed me, I got really excited about this movie. And the original Lynch version is a deeply flawed movie, but what I appreciate about it is it gets the broad strokes about the story right. And visually, it's got a lot of amazing stuff. And the score for David Lynch's Dune is badass. It's so cool. Toto did most of the score for that movie, which is a fun fact. But because I was familiar with the story and the source material, I knew what to expect from the plot of this. What I wanted to be surprised by was his take on it, and I'm happy to say that this movie is the passion behind it, the love for the source material. You feel it, and I, regardless of where it goes as an IP, in terms of what movie is next, what TV series is next, this film by itself deserves the recognition it's getting, and we'll all talk more about it in depth soon. But if I'm gonna just give my thesis statement, I think this is a very special science fiction film that we're going to be talking about for a very long time, regardless of how far it goes as a franchise. And I think it's a great indicator of what we can do with these kind of properties when we look beyond just what's instantly entertaining and quippy and fun, and get at some of these larger themes. And I think fans of Game of Thrones have been right to point out that, Dune was a trendsetter in that regard with this kind of storytelling. George R.R. Martin owes a lot of his stories to, Herbert and the things that were set up in the Dune lore. So I want to defer to the floor here, but I was very impressed with it. Really glad I saw it for the first time on a big screen. We'll be happy to rewatch it on HBO, but was determined to see it on a big screen, and quite impressed with it. Just still digesting it a bit.
Marisol.
Yeah. This blows. Sorry to make this a direct comparison. This blows something like Tenet out of the water. This is why you go back.
I like it quite a lot more than Tenet.
This is why you go back to theaters to see films.
Yes.
Dune. This is why you go back to theaters to see films. And I'll go from the opposite end as somebody who really appreciates this film. Somebody who I've never read any of the source material. I haven't even seen the Lynch version from the 80s. Not yet. I will very quickly now, having seen this new one. But I can't think of recent memory a film that I was more excited for without having any familiarity, like any exposure to the source material, whether the film, the previous adaptation, or the original source material, as I was for Dune. Because Denis Villeneuve he's a filmmaker for film lovers. He is somebody who's so quality that, whatever this man's going to make a film about, you want to see. As a film lover, you want to see whatever this person is going to make. There are a handful of directors like that. Denis Villeneuve is actually absolutely at the top list of those kind of filmmakers for me. I don't care what you're making it about. This is not some measure of IP loyalty here. This is about trusting a storyteller in the hands of what seems like fascinating material. And you're so confident in their abilities as a filmmaker and their partnerships with excellent, throughout his entire career, excellent cinematographers. And he's always experimenting with different cinematographers. And I looked up who did, we'll get into it, but the cinematographer for this film, which I find the most fascinating about him is how he piggybacks from different cinematographers, which I think is something rare for such an auteur to do, is to link up with different cinematographers throughout their career and still make amazing looking, excellent films across the board. I think is very, very special. And such a testament to his films. But yeah, quick summary of Dune. This is luxurious. This is indulgent sci-fi saga filmmaking. Different from, Abby, what you were saying, different from Star Wars, but not comparable, and special in its own way. Completely different angle for I think, epic sci-fi filmmaking. And very, very, very Game of Thrones, very power battle establishing, very, very taking the time and the detail to build this world, which is the kind of shit where if you want to just show up for, coincidentally, we saw the trailer for Ambulance before this film. If you just want to show up, child, I'm very excited. If you,
Michael Bay.
if you just want to show, if you just want some explosions and some easy
Give
emotion,
me Michael Bay's Dune.
Ambulance.
Ambulamps. No,
Yeah.
ambulamps. Okay.
Ambulance.
All right. That's how they say it in the hood. Ambulamps. But if you just want, if you just are looking for a Michael Bay sci-fi film, sure, knock yourself out. Maybe Dune won't be your ticket. But if you have any kind of appetite for, which I felt a lot of 2001, I felt a lot of Space Odyssey, especially in the first half of this film. I felt
Not a derivative Interstellar way.
No, not looking at you, Interstellar. Not in that kind of sense.
Just kicking Nolan while he's down.
I'm here for it. Jacob, let her
This
talk.
is better than Interstellar.
I love Dunkirk. No.
I'm
Trust
here
me.
for it.
I am a lover of most of Nolan's filmography, but I got some gripes with a couple of films. He's got a couple underwhelming ones. But I will say this, we're in the hands of a filmmaker who's pulling his inspirations from the right places and made this film, what I can only imagine from what you're saying, very, very appealing and enjoyable for the well-versed and the well exposed to this property and this world. And for a complete newcomer like me, it was completely immersive and was completely, it's a dream. It's a dream to be fulfilling to people who are very familiar with the source material and have spent decades loving it and have a lot of expectations for it, and completely accessible to the newcomers. The same way Abrams did with 09 Star Trek, be completely accessible for the newcomers to this property and hook them in and give it the attention and the detail and the time and the dedication to build it up and sell it. I think Dune knocked it out of the park with that. Okay, I'm done.
Did that without having to have closed captions on too for your first viewing?
Oh, everything was clear. This wasn't there wasn't any kind of
Tenet.
Paige.
Yeah. Did you say my name?
I did.
Dude, bravo to Denis, man. This film is literally, to me, I'm not even joking. I think is visually the most stunning, most beautiful sci-fi film I've ever seen. And I'm a huge fan of 2001 Space Odyssey, but this movie just knocked it out of the park for me. I have a soft spot for the 1984 David Lynch film, but I mean, yeah, that film isn't that great. It does have pugs in it, so that's cute. But no, this movie was phenomenal. It was everything I hoped for, and I'm just so hyped that it finally came out for all of us to enjoy, whether it was a viewing in your home or in the cinema, which I think it should be seen on the biggest screen possible, because the score, everything about this, the score, the acting, the characters, I thought everyone was so spot on with who was cast in this film that it was just amazing. I love this movie. I really, really hope that they filmed, I know they didn't, but I'm just hoping that they filmed part 2 back to back already, but I know they didn't film part 2 yet. So it's kind of a bummer. We're going to have to wait a couple years to get this, because once I finished it, I was like, wow, I'm ready for part 2 right now. I hope that wasn't a spoiler, but.
No, yeah. I put up on Twitter today that Warner Brothers' biggest regret is going to be that they do not have Dune Part 2 ready for October 2022.
Yeah.
That they can't put the Dune Part 2 teaser in front of the Batman, because they're gonna the fact that they're gonna lose a lot of momentum that this movie's gonna make next year, and by 2023 or 2024, when we actually get this movie, it's going. The momentum's going to have very much suffered. I mean, we saw that happen with It Chapter 2, of the momentum that It Chapter 1 had generated, that they didn't have that ready to go by
They should have done
twice
what.
a year
Well,
later.
and I think Dune's great, but I don't think it's going to make it money, sadly.
I don't think it's going to make it money, but I mean, it's already nearly made back its budget. So, and that's without a domestic release.
Like if they had a
So-
Dune 2 trailer, like around the Oscars, like get like an Oscar slot because you know it's going to get nominated at least for like
Mhm.
technical awards.
Oh, definitely
Yeah.
for visual effects, hands down.
Yeah, so it's
Well,
just
that's like I think in front of Batman, because Batman's at March, Oscars would have been March as well.
same
so, like,
cinematographer. I just looked that up.
Yep.
Exactly.
But,
Yes.
Yeah, that's real.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I think Warner Brothers are that's gonna be a big mistake they're gonna live to regret that we can't promote this movie next
Yeah.
year. So
I will just say,
I loved it.
I will just say two more things. They should have done what Lord of the Rings did. Give us it back to back every year. It would have been the smartest thing just to film it all at once.
Yeah.
Just because within 3 years, everyone's going to look and change and everything like that. I just wanted the story now. But one more
can't-
thing I will say though is that for such a high budget film, to me, this still felt like an art house film. It was just so beautiful. Everything about it, the storytelling. Some people may complain about it being 2.5 hours. To me, it flew by because I feel like Dune, I have not read the books, but just knowing the source material, there's so much story and understanding and world building that needs to be done that this film just like did it for me and didn't feel long at all for me.
Well, that's something that I was really concerned about coming into this movie, just because as of late, I've been kind of just tired by movies that are long that don't need to be long. They're just doing it for the sake of it. And the Lynch film feels very long.
Yeah.
It's shorter than this.
I know, and it feels so long. This movie flew by for me. Like it doesn't feel like it's runtime at all in the best possible way.
Yeah.
I think that because I don't know any of the source material either outside of the Lynch film, and I don't know if I think there are a couple different elements that have to do with it, but the Lynch film left me very confused about a lot of the storytelling and who the characters were and who was connected to who.
That's because
And
they crammed everything in from the story into a 2-hour movie. With this one, they took their time, and we're gonna get another part, which is lovely.
But even outside of that, like I don't think that cramming to the whole thing into one film is the reason why that suffered. I just don't. Whether it was Lynch or whether it was studio interference or whatever it was, I just don't think that version of the movie does a good job of leading an audience to what's happening. Whereas I think this one, especially for a general audience, it guides you through the characters you need to know, why they're important, who they are, what the story is. And, I feel like Lynch was kind of like, you either understand it or you don't. Fuck you. I don't give a shit. and this movie is like, all right, so here's what's going on. And it actually like helps you figure out what this world you're in is, but it doesn't feel like it's patronizing, and it doesn't feel like it's just, explaining things to you. I think it sets out the story and the characters very well. What I appreciated about it was that I was invested in all of the storylines happening. I was invested in all the different characters and what they were experiencing. Like everyone said, it's a beautiful film. Just visually, it's stunning. The score is great. I really thought all of the acting was great. I thought the casting was fantastic. And I thought there's a scene that I'll talk about a little later when we actually jump into this. But I think it does a fantastic job of creating meaningful suspense throughout the entire film. I really loved it. I might actually, after this stream, be like, hey, I'm going to watch it again because I feel like
that's
it.
what I'm doing.
So,
I very much was going into this. I was very excited for this movie when it was first announced, even before it was delayed. And then I sat down and did all of David Lynch's movies, and I watched Dune for the first time. And I went,
Welcome.
hey, I'm very glad I did all of David Lynch's movies. Dune was not one that I was very thankful for, and it actually kind of put me off.
I got more to say about Lynch's Dune when I get a second, but go on.
No, that's fair. It kind of, I actually started to get a little nervous about this movie, and I'm very glad that I was wrong, because this is a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. and everyone's kind of already said it. Like it's very, very well acted. It's incredibly well made. Villeneuve has a master. Villeneuve, I think, is a director who has a remarkably amazing sense of pacing. Of I can make a movie 2.5 hours that is slow, but you never think that it's slow. Like his way of making deliberately paced films feel like they are flying by is remarkable, and I don't think there's another director who can quite do it the way that he does, because between this, Arrival, and Blade Runner 2049, where his movies are longer, they're slower and more meaning and deeper in the themes that they're telling. They are also extremely well-paced films that keep you on the edge of your seat through the entire runtime, that has you wanting more. So I thoroughly enjoy this, and I can't wait to continue talking about it. Ben.
Yeah, just it was real good. It's like this is a good movie. And this is like, I think this is probably like my biggest, you know, I just Ben Bateman invited me out to the Aero Theater in Santa Monica to see Lawrence of Arabia on the big screen. And I'd never seen the movie to begin with, and then just seeing it on the big screen, I was like, holy shit, like I hate to be that guy, but like this is cinema. Like, you know, when there's just like this sweeping shot of 200 horsemen taking it in, like riding into a city. It's like, how the fuck did this even get made? And I got that same feeling in this movie. And yeah, I wish I just, like, we used to make jokes like on SCN where it's like, oh, did you get cast in Dune? I just got cast in Dune, because they were casting fucking everybody. And it's like everybody's hot was in this movie. Like everybody's like the hottest. I think I was on Christy V's show, and that was like the topic was most fuckable cast, and I picked Dune. I was like, it's not out yet, but I picked Dune.
Yes.
It's that or Cocoon, Ben.
Yeah, so neck and neck. Yeah. But no, this does make me want to go watch David Lynch's Dune, like, because I do want to see, like, you know, where the story like may have gone wrong, and I'm kind of nervous, like, and I do want to ask, like, you know, I see Tim Franco in the chat, like, and he says he's a big fan of the source material. Like, how much did this movie cover of the book? Does the Lynch movie cover like all of it?
Has anyone else here actually read the books but me?
No.
So you're gonna
like,
be the first to tell us all.
How far did they get, Mara?
Not okay. As far as the first book goes, not exceptionally far. Here's the thing, though: do not watch David Lynch's Dune unless you want to know some massive spoilers for your future movies. Now, this is a series that's been out for decades. The first movie's been out for decades. Even the miniseries been out for decades. So it's not like they're really spoilers at this point. But if you want to try to do, like, you know, a Game of Thrones, hey, I'm not going to know what the Red Wedding is kind of a thing, do not watch that movie, because you're going to find out a lot of things that you would probably rather not know. If you think you can stay away from them. Now, I don't think that they're going to stay unspoiled very long, just because the internet is terrible. But
it's like me watching, like, you know, all my anime with all like the manga is, like, you know, already been printed, and I'm like, oh, just stop, like, let me just watch my anime, like, I just want to watch this come out. But no,
like,
just
even if you watch the movie, though, just like stop, though. It won't take you very long, but just stop.
Yeah, like I just loved everything about it. Like, I honestly, with Blade Runner, and I love 2049 more than the original, honestly. With that movie, I can be like, oh yeah, it's a little long and there's some slow moments. With this, I don't even know what slow moments like they would talk about. Like, everything is so well paced, and like there's like just something to pique your interest, you know, the hunter killer drone, the excavator incident, like and then you know, like 15 minutes later, if that, the big attack happens, and then more sandworm stuff, and then Duncan Idaho kicks all the ass. Like, there's so much in there for just even like a simple like sci-fi fan, like, oh yeah, what is this? I feel like there's just everything in there for you. So I was trying to like be very general with what I was saying about what the
no, so okay, I'm just like, you know what, let's just put it up.
Let's just go for
it.
But everything about this works for me, and I've already seen it twice. I watched it on HBO Max, but I cannot recommend a theater enough. If you can do it safely and at your comfort level with a mask on, spaced out, find like an empty matinee showing, but just the simple time where the mother, like the main like witch lady, like says like come kneel, and like the voice in the theater, I like jumped because like it like gets you. And then I just watched it on HBO Max and I was like, oh, I don't know if I was expecting it or like it just didn't hit. Like the whole room vibrated whenever anybody used the voice. Like Rebecca Ferguson channeling Rose the Hat into another performance, like when she's telling all the Hurricane like to kill each other. I was like, oh, like how is Rebecca Ferguson has one of the craziest careers, like completely upstaging Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible movie twice in a row, and then just never looking back and just being the center of attention for the rest of her life. And I'm fucking here for it. Like she needs to team up with like she's in Hugh Jackman. I haven't seen Reminiscence, but I'm sure she's better than Hugh Jackman in it, because it's literally her calling card. It's like, hey, male lead, do you want me to be in your movie and be way better than you in it? Okay, here I am. Let's go.
She steals Greatest Showman for me with her number.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is the best part. So it's the second movie in a row where she sings and Hugh Jackman falls in love with her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
Lara, what are your thoughts?
Okay. I have so many thoughts. Number one of the reasons why I think some of the criticism that I've seen about it being like slower or less interesting or style over substance, etc. One of the things that Dune is the best at is it has a lot to say. And I would never ever, I was telling this to Jesse Swift earlier because he's also read the books. So I had somebody to geek out with. I would never ever tell someone, you're not smart enough to understand it, so that's why you don't like it. But I think, yes, I know, I agree with you. I think that if you aren't listening to what it has to say, you have zero chance of liking it, and you will think it's slow, you will think it's boring, and you will think it's style over substance. That source material had shit to say when it came out, and it is even more relevant now. And people don't know the trajectory of these characters yet. I've seen some criticisms that are definitely not accurate because they don't know where these people go and they don't know what they're going to do. And people that you think are good may not be good. People that you think are bad may not be bad. I also think this is just personal. I mean, because you can categorize stuff however you want based on what clinical terminology you want to use and what experiences you've had. I think Dune is way more fantasy than it is sci-fi. Like I know Frank Herbert calls it soft sci-fi, but to me, it reads way more Lord of the Rings-esque in the sense that this is world building, this is mythology and history more so than it is. It's not a space adventure. It's not a space opera. It's not really even about the technology per se. It's more about the history of the people and where they go together. So I think that that's a harder sell. I think sci-fi is an easier sell because of things like J.J. Abrams doing Star Trek and Star Wars and bringing them into the main space for people that either like them, love them, or have no idea what they are. So, I mean, I hope people give this movie a chance. I also really encourage people to see it on the biggest possible screen you can because, man, I already want to see it again. And just like hauntingly beautiful. If this movie doesn't win Best Visual Effects, I'm gonna harm members of the Academy. I'm gonna fall on this sword like I did for cinematography for 1917. I'm willing to commit grievous bodily injury to others. I don't care what that means for me regarding law enforcement. It's just so gorgeous. I've never looked at a movie and said, I don't know where real fire begins and fake fire begins. I've never looked at a movie and said, I don't know where fake smoke begins and real smoke begins. It's so wonderful. And those are things we haven't really seen yet. Yes, I know. I'm glad they changed some of the not subtle problematic elements of how Lynch depicted the Baron. I'm really glad that they fixed that. So yeah, I really could keep going, but I don't want to monopolize it. I could talk about this movie for an hour straight.
Well, more, I'm like curious on your thoughts, like from like the book perspective of like, do you think was there a lot of adaptation from it, or do you think it was more Denis like kind of being more creative with it, or actually taking the source material in a sense?
Oh, this is a love letter to the source material. I mean, there are minor changes made. There are always going to be. There are definitely some small things that are trimmed. They always have to be. But considering this was looked at as unadaptable, and I feel like it's coherent because Dan is also the same way as most of you. He's never seen Dune, either the movie or the miniseries. He's never read the books. Knows nothing about it whatsoever other than, oh, there's a handsome Timothée in it, and that's all I know. And it's like, okay, great. That's all you need to know right now. He thought it was coherent. He thought that it made sense. He had very limited questions for me about like some of the funny names of things or the history of this people or what was their thing a long time ago or this or that. Like really limited, questions that were very intelligent questions based on what he'd seen. So he wasn't lost. He wasn't like kind of treading water in the who are these witches? Like, so I think that he did an excellent job.
But that's what I also think. I think this movie does an incredible job of, and I think was very intelligent. And the Lynch one also kind of did this, but it doesn't work today because a lot of those actors aren't as well known now. But hiring actors that are very well known to play these roles, because when they mention names, it's like, oh, Oscar Isaac, that's who they're talking about. Instead of like you
associate.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to associate these out there names with
people you recognize.
Yeah, so I think that was a very intelligent casting decision that they made. All right, we're gonna go full spoilers now. Talk about anything, everything, whatever you want. Probably do it for about another 15, 20 minutes until we're all happy.
All right.
Talking this movie. So what do we think of essentially the climax of the movie, which is, that's one criticism that I have seen a few people bring up, which is it doesn't do the Lord of the Rings thing where it has a natural end point. It kind of like, it doesn't have this story itself tells a self-contained story, but sets up the next one. It's very much, this is part one. Is that a valid criticism? Is that something you think is being a little nitpicky? Marisol, you seem to be very much disagreeing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Man, Dune, what I will say about it being accessible to everybody. The opening credits is like, Dune, part 1. like that is
like I need to do my own research about what part 1 means. I'm gonna go ask my uncle on Facebook what he thinks about it. So I realize there's been like scientific clinical trials about what part 1 means, but I'm just gonna have to do my own research about it. Okay, so
look, that's fair. Mama curbed her expectations going into this thing because the movie tells you literally when it starts that this is part 1. This is going to be a part of an entire story. And once it says that, I don't want to hear any nitpicking. I don't want to hear like, well, you didn't have a complete definitive there wasn't resolution at the end of this film. Oh really? A part 1 of 3? Like there wasn't some resolution. This movie tells you what it is. It's pretty clear. Like by the time you're like 45 minutes into this film and it's still setting up everything, that this is not going to be a closed circuit story. Yeah. I think I'm not here for it. The conversations with people that are just like I just wanted this to be like like a complete like.
Well, I'm with Tim. I'm with Marisol on this. Like, okay, Fellowship of the Ring. Technically, the dude doesn't get to Mordor. He doesn't throw a ring into a fire. They decide he's going to go do it, and then they start walking. Like, but it's in its own way a pretty self-contained story in the sense that Frodo is about to begin. Well, he's beginning this epic adventure that changes the trajectory of his entire life. Same thing with Paul. He has closed the door on what he knows as his lineage and his trajectory with House Atreides, and he has decided that the desert is now his future, at least as his near future. So I think that in a way it does close a chapter on the life he saw for himself and the life that Jessica saw for him, at least to that point. And it is setting out for something new. They survived, the incursion. They survived, being betrayed by Yua, and they're on their new thing now. So I don't think it's per se an incomplete sort of story. Like, sure, it sets up other stuff, but so does every other multi-part story ever told.
Exactly. I think they do come full circle with what at least like what they meant the goal at least for this film was his coming of age as it was. Like that he was trying to have like a kind of a rite of passage and Jessica even says she's like, oh, he's never killed anybody before.
And 2 seconds later, bam, right in the back.
Exactly. He's like hold my beer. I got this. And
now hold my drinkable sweat.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I was holding it for him on the side. You guys didn't see me in the
To be fair, Adam, that's what IPAs taste like. So
here.
Yeah, and the film, Zendaya says it best. She's like,
God bless her, Zendaya.
oh my God, what is she say? She's like,
this is only the beginning, I think.
the only beginning. Yeah. She's like, she pretty much, she looks at him and she's like, hold
I
on.
love how ready she is to see him die.
She's
She's
like,
like,
hold on.
Yeah,
to
right.
your butts.
You can die.
She's
in
like,
our
listen.
hands.
She's like, listen, kid. You're about to die, but I at least want you to do it with honor. So here you go.
I know you've been drinking about me the whole movie like a weirdo, but enjoy dying.
Not only that, that's one of my favorite things. How like we've been watching 2 hours of just like dreams and Zendaya. She's just like, come hither, and like and then he meets her in person and she's like, yeah.
She's like,
You ain't
But then
shit.
he's about to say something to her, and then he's just like, never mind. I'll tell you in part 2 that I had dreams about you. Like,
I also did think that it was, a really great way of ending the film of the teaser of Desert Power is them riding. Like I liked how the walk was complete bullshit. That how they go that this is how desert people walk, and it's so that to stop the
that walk is pretty cool.
The non-rhythmic walking, yeah,
the rhythmic walking. That it was, and I liked that. Oh no, this is what I've read. This is how they walk, and it's complete bullshit. That's not what it is. That's not how they survive. They just ride the worms instead. That's how they survive.
Worms.
I thought
like
that
buttholes,
was.
but
I thought that was really well done. I'm a little disappointed the trailer actually revealed what they look like. I'm considering the movie builds up to it. I'm a little annoyed that it did reveal that, but whatever.
It didn't make it any less tremendous, but yeah, I know what you mean.
It's still like just seeing it in theaters, like in an IMAX, like because like the shots on an IMAX camera, and it's just like holy, like it's still like worth the wait. But yeah, it should have been a big reveal. But yeah, just I love like how the visions, like some of them were coming true and then some of them weren't.
Yeah.
So like you never the exposition was so well told, either through like the beginning narration or through like the educational films he was watching. It never felt weighted down with like explaining stuff. And yeah, like I watched it today on HBO Max and I was like, oh, okay, that's the actual name of this. Like, okay, that's the planet. That's who they were talking about. And so you do get more of the Game of Thrones political intrigue of the movie rather than, oh, Stellan Skarsgård is bad. Okay, he kills Oscar Isaac. And Oscar Isaac's final line is so perfect.
And he's naked. Damn.
Right. But yeah, just
that was
everything works.
Sorry.
Oh no, it was
thing.
just so good.
That's the other thing I just want to mention, and I promise, Adam, I'm not going to completely keep shitting on the Dune on Lynch's one, but
yeah, I'll get to say something about it eventually. I'm sure.
The use of sign language or their nonverbal communication instead of the voiceovers from the Lynch movie, which I know Lynch didn't want to do, and I get that. Lynch's Dune is not the movie Lynch wanted to make, but this being, I just thought there was incredible and really smart ways of getting through exposition dialogue without it being just straight up an exposition dump. It was very much and conveying stuff to the audience that we shouldn't really be able to know easily. That they were finding ways to do it easily, and I was very impressed with how they did that.
Yeah, I really like this film. Like, to me, it was very much a coming of age film, and not to reiterate what everyone said, but the way it did end, like, it makes you want more, because it was that was this end of like chapter 1 pretty much, that now we're going to see the journey that he takes pretty much from everything that he lived before, just getting destroyed and getting betrayed, that now we're going to see what happens when he gets desert power.
Yeah, I remember like on Sabrina said on SEN that this could be considered like a YA film and like, you know, like targeted at those audience, and like people freaked out in the chat, and like watching this, I'm like, no, it definitely
She's not
could be.
wrong.
She's
not
not
wrong.
He's
not
a young
wrong.
man that's been the chosen one. Like that's the definition of every YA movie ever. So like she's not far off. So I think that
But it's
that's
definitely
why-
more mature film.
Yeah,
It's
it definitely
more
is.
mature.
You know, it's
Yeah.
you know, it's got like more going for it. But like, I mean, if you like plot me down in the middle of like Hunger Games, there's a lot of shit to take in that movie too. Like all the different districts and, you know, names and President Snow and all that stuff. Like, but no, I thought it was just like so just perfectly like explained, and like you just like you're set in this world, and they don't hold your hand, but they do explain things along the way for you to keep up. But yeah, that final knife fight was so tense and so well done. And oh god, like, and just like Zendaya saying, you know, this is only the beginning. Like, because, you know, I thought the movie would end with them walking away, and then it shows more. I was like, okay, we're still going. And then she's like, this is only the beginning. And it felt like the first, you know, it felt like Sam closing the door on me again. I was like, no, I want to go. Let's keep going. I'm okay with another 2.5 hours.
Right? I literally could have, like, once that film ended, the credits hit, I was like, damn, I really want to watch another two and a half hours of part 2.
Yeah,
like
for
right
sure.
away, I wanted more of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I legit hope that there is an extra like 30, 40 minutes in an extended version, because we got extended cuts of Lord of the Rings, and I see no reason to deprive me of extra footage from this movie.
Yes.
Me personally, this is an affront to me.
So, Maura, I have a question for you, though. All right. So, since the book, it's very hard for people to, well, I mean, people think it's unadaptable. Do you think there's going to be more than, how many, like, do you think there's going to be more than a part 2? Do you think we'll get more? Do you think the part 2 will actually complete the story? I know there's multiple books, but I just mean, I guess, from book 1. I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think it depends on if they're just going to do book 1. I think there are parts that you can easily bring in from the other books that would make sense to do cinematically in a first kind of telling of story. Like, you know, if we're going to call it like Lord of the Rings Hobbit-esque, as in like, we're going to wait a little bit, see how this ages like a wine, and then do it, but hopefully like do it better and not like how they did the Hobbit. But like, I think that 2.5 hour movies could do it, but I think it should be 3, because I think that one criticism I've seen that I don't necessarily agree with, but I see why people would think this, because I know these characters because I've known them for decades. Other people haven't. So I've seen people say that they wish there was a little more development, that they felt like they had to introduce so many people. There are more people we're going to bring into this story too that we haven't even met yet. So I'd like for them to have room to breathe and develop the characters. And I don't want to feel like they have to, like, there's some storylines I really hope that they cut that are coming up that I don't think need to be included. But if they throw them in, or if they pick and they choose and they need more room, I'd rather have more movie that takes its time and does it well than like cramming it in. But that's just me though. I could see it if someone says like, hey, cut out every bit of fat, tell me the necessary story in 2.5 hour movies. I don't find that that's problematic. I mean, I love the source material, but I don't need to see every page of it on the screen. It's just not doable.
Now, is the David Lynch film, is that just based off the first book? Or is that based off of multiple?
It's the book, but very, very, very shrunk.
So my interpretation of it is, I feel like the David Lynch movie is very similar to Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Where it like kind of jumps into what comes next very hastily, and not going to spoil anything from the Lynch movie for people who haven't seen it, but it goes farther than this movie in a very awkward,
by a lot, yeah,
truncated way. And I'm just glad that I'm glad this version's taking its time. What I want to say about the Lynch movie is that, when that movie came out, that was like Lynch being kind of, you know, steered towards a project, and the budget wasn't quite there, the vision wasn't quite there, and they just forced it into being a movie. This is something that the filmmaker has been wanting to make basically his whole life. And you can tell that just every millisecond of this is storyboarded in his brain. And that's what I love about this version of the movie. But what I think people need to give Lynch's version credit for is there are you can easily do a lot of shot for shots between these two movies where and as far as I understand, Denis Villeneuve does have an appreciation for Lynch's movie, because it's all that there was that in the miniseries, like Mara brought up, and people don't talk about the miniseries at all. That was the thing that came out and kept this property alive.
Well, that was huge.
Yeah, and that went pretty far, right, with the story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, you wanted to do Denis. He's clearly respectful of his. You can tell how respectful he is of the source material and even the Lynch film, which I had
did
seen
so much with
back.
so little, even though it's not a perfect movie.
Well, even if you just he is paying homage. He's not like one of those people who retcons like the previous filmmakers who attempt stuff. It's on YouTube. You can find a shot by shot, a side by side comparison of just the trailers alone, and how many shots that Villeneuve mimics from Lynch's original film. It's astonishing how many shots he's paying homage to in his new film with what Lynch did in the 1984 version.
In an organic way.
Yeah, very organic. But he is just like, we're so inspired by what's happening in this new film, but he is really, really, really pulling the best of what came from that Lynch film, almost shot by shot, like shot for shot. Like in some scenarios,
the aesthetic of that movie is the best part.
Yeah, exactly. And it's worth really looking, really getting a new appreciation for the Lynch version by looking at really finding YouTubing those shot by shot comparisons of just the trailer.
What I wanted to mention as well, real quick, is just that in the Lynch version, the way they got through a lot of the exposition, as people have mentioned, is characters had inner monologue, and it's really clunky and awkward because they're explaining the plot to themselves in their own brains. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a crutch for that version of the film, and it's very unfortunate. It makes the film seem, a lot more literal than it needs to be. And what I love about this version is they find organic ways to incorporate exposition in more interesting ways. I appreciate the way that, Paul is watching his little informational tape occasionally, but they don't overdo it. They do it like 2 or 3 times at very specific moments that really help the audience, whether you're familiar with the source material or not, like get a grasp of what the rules are of this world. And just through conversation, I think this is a movie that if you watch it the first time, you're not going to remember every single name of every single house and every term. And there's like, 3 different names for Paul Atreides alone that you're not going to pick up without subtitles unless you're familiar with the source material. But again, it's not important about memorizing every single detail at an inner geekdom level your first viewing. It's about the essence of the story, the broad strokes, and how, like Mara said, it is more fantasy than sci-fi, like Star Wars is at its best, in my opinion.
I do wish that one thing they left out of this version is I wish that they would have explained a little bit more about imperial conditioning and why the doctor's betrayal was so surprising, because that was a huge surprise.
Yeah, I wish they went.
The Lynch version puts more gravity in that betrayal. I'll say that.
That was one element that I thought, when you were mentioning an extended edition, that I think that's something that I think could be in an extended edition. Like, that's the one element that maybe you could actually really go, okay, here's another 20 minutes in. Because I thought one thing that this film did really well that I actually really liked was that you had the villain, and Skarsgård was the villain of this movie. Like, it wasn't, there's the Emperor, and then there's this family, and then there's also this. Like, they alluded to it all, but they weren't really like, we're going to cut to it, and now cut to this, and now cut to here, and now cut, and like showing it all really confuse people. Instead, they were like, no, Skarsgård's the villain. We're following House Atreides, and this is what they have to do. And I thought that was a lot smarter in its adaptation of and way of presenting the story.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with everybody on the whole doctor storyline. To me, in the betrayal storyline, to me in the Lynch version, I was like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is and why it matters. Like these people just got betrayed by some dude that I don't even know what the hell's happening. In this one, he spends a lot of time with Paul, and he spends a lot of time with Lady Jessica, and you get to see the relationship that they have. And how, like, to me, just visually and storyline wise, you saw him spending so much time with the family. And I get that they didn't put a lot of emphasis on like why it's such a huge betrayal, but to me, this one was more impactful because I actually understood what was happening. The Lynch version, I didn't get it at all. I was like, why are we upset this guy betrayed him? Do we even know who this guy is? I don't know what's happening.
And Taylor, I'm on the same wavelength as you. My only thing was I didn't even know he had a wife that was like taken. Like, I feel like they didn't like touch upon that at all. Like, if they touched upon that just a little bit, like my wife isn't with me because she's captive by them or something. Like, it would have just like made the portrayal not make a little bit more sense, but like hit deeper, kind of. I don't know.
I thought they did well with it
married
because
those two.
Yeah, I thought they did well with it because, like, especially when he's about to be tested, the doctor shows him more compassion than Lady Jessica does. Like, she's so cold, like, get up, get dressed, you have to do this, no questions asked. And he whispers to him in, like, you know, a language like that she might, I don't know if Lady Jessica understands the language they talk between themselves, but obviously he's like, you have to be on guard, like, you have to do this. So it's like he obviously loves Paul and like cares for him deeply. So I thought, like, I understand what you guys say, and I somewhat agree with it, but like I thought they did a good enough job at like establishing that relationship to be like, no, this doctor, he's not like, you know, he's not like your, you know, the Obamacare, like, oh, this is your primary care physician, a guy you're never gonna fucking meet. No, this is like the family doctor that probably like birthed Paul and like raised him from a baby.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason why it matters, why it's supposed to be so surprising, is because they are not supposed to be physically allowed to betray their masters, like the people that they serve. Effectively, like they're supposed to be incorruptible, which is why it was so surprising that, granted, it's kind of a little bit of a thing that the Lynch movie doesn't explain super well, like how they broke his conditioning by using his wife. It's like, well, is imperial conditioning really that good if all it takes is torturing your wife? But like, that's part of why it was supposed to be such a big like gut punch where you're like, wait, what? Because you're thinking like, is it which of these characters that I know is the one that's betrayed them, or is it someone I don't even know yet? And then you're like, but you're not allowed to. And then they go into the whole thing. But
Mara,
I wonder if that's something that didn't really register for me because I don't know the source material and I don't feel like the Lynch film explained that to me. So when I watched this version, I was just like, oh, he just betrayed the person that I'm being led to believe by this movie, Paul. Like, he's betraying, like, clearly he loves Paul and he loves his family. And to me, it's a huge betrayal in this movie because he's basically, other than Oscar Isaac, other than the dad, he seems to be the most, like, emotional and sentimental with Paul in terms of, like, his actual well-being and really looking after him. So to me, because I wasn't, like, this movie doesn't really explain that part of the betrayal, like why that would be a big deal in terms of conditioning. Maybe it's just something that I didn't notice because is there something going on here? Because you're laughing while I'm trying to talk. I feel like no one's listening to me.
I am. No, sorry.
No, I'm listening.
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay.
Yeah. What?
Okay. All right. Alrighty.
He's like giving me a smirk like he's laughing about something and not listening to what I'm saying. Anyway, I think it was different for me because the imperial like conditioning, I didn't notice it in the Lynch film, whether that was my own fault or because the movie isn't greatly made, not necessarily of any fault of Lynch, but just the product we got was not necessarily the best. But also, this movie doesn't feel like it really relies on that. Like, I don't know if that is a part of a story we're going to get if we get a longer cut, or if that's just not something that's part of it. But that is an interesting thought because I didn't even realize that was a thing until Mara just explained it to us.
Abby, do you have any spoiler thoughts?
Not enough Zendaya for me, honestly. But I
Fair.
Okay, I'm gonna take that back. I think that's my own personal gripe because I love Zendaya, but I think that it worked for this movie. I think it is funny that she is marketed as almost like the co-star. And that's kind of more like my problem. But I understand if like you're someone like my age, like that's how you're gonna get like those butts and seats. So yeah, that was just like kind of my big spoiler thing, is just the amount of Zendaya, but I think that it was a perfect segue into part 2.
Yeah, because I think they've already said too that like part 2 is she's going to definitely be
It's
like
more her
one of the
story.
leading stars. It's going to be following her a lot because obviously they'll be in the desert. And I heard she only filmed like a week like for this film, obviously, because there's only a couple scenes. But I was very surprised when I saw that because that came out before the film came out. So I was like, oh damn. I was like, so she's definitely not in this one as much as I thought.
There's a moment in this movie that like is not significant at all, doesn't mean anything, but is stuck with me since we watched it. And it's the moment when Paul and Lady Jessica are escaping in the, what is it called? It's not a helicopter. It's
ornithopter.
like or sure that when they're escaping.
Thank you,
in that,
Fortnite.
yes. And there's a moment where the film is creating tension, and it keeps changing the shot between them and like the ledge, the whatever it is, the entrance.
Yeah.
And I feel like in most other movies, you would get that switch, and then at the last second when they're escaping, someone would run up through it and start shooting at them. And I felt like having that not happen was such a great way to create tension while also creating this sense of going forward in this movie, there's going to be tension, but you don't know if it's actually going to be a real danger or not because of what that shot was able to do, where you think you're getting one thing, you think they're going to be caught, you think someone's on their heels, but that's not the case. And it just creates this great sense of tension and unease going forward, where if those moments happen again, and when they do happen again, you don't actually know if someone's going to show up or not, or if something's going to break, or I don't know. I just thought it was a great way to like.
No, I agree. I was on edge.
That.
Like once they got to Arrakis, I was like kind of on edge, like because the movie's like so loud and like out there, and I was like, oh man, like I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like,
well, you nailed it exactly with that scene, Taylor. Like I was looking for the same thing in the theater. I was like squinting. Like I was like we're about to see like a couple dudes like running up with guns like in those shots. They kept cutting back in those shots. And I think a lot of this is what you were talking about earlier, Paige, like Make a Wish, like it's frustrating. This conversation we're having about having to wait, even though a sequel I think has been greenlit. I think
it has.
It's not officially, but the head of Warner Brothers basically came out and went.
The cinematographer is already listed in pre-production. Like when I looked him up. So
there you go, and they should. And I think what they can do, I like it would be great if Warner Brothers had the balls that New Line Cinema had back in like 1996 or whatever, 1997. They would do this as one giant production, the way that New Line Cinema took the chance with Peter Jackson, and they were just like, yes, you can do one giant production, you know, and then we'll split it up into 3 films. Warner Brothers plays things clearly film by film and needs to see receipts first before they greenlight.
They're hedging their bets because of Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, understandably, because that's how you do it at this point in 2021 when you're releasing a big budget film like this. What I would be shocked. I really want to look into it more. Is what I picked up in watching this, and what made it so impressive, and what made the visual effects so seamless to me. Speaking of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, was I felt a use of miniatures, and I feel like they were probably just seamlessly blended in. Like you can kind of tell some films that are just all CGI, you know, and the films that look so textured and so layered and so organic and so impressive with seamless visual effects, like I think this did, what Dune did, is I feel like when you see something like that and it looks just so organic and so textured and so real, I feel like there's a lot of miniatures at work, and there would have to be. The scope of this movie is fucking off the charts. Like it's so off the charts. Like it's so like there are people like just people are just walking like through rooms, and these rooms look like the rooms are like 100 yards long, like for no reason at all.
Yeah.
Like these rooms are just so gigantic. And I'm like, obviously they didn't make sets for this, you know, but this is too realistic and too textured and too organic looking to just be like completely CGI, or else it would just look like a flat painting. So I feel like a lot of miniatures and miniature sets and miniature ships and things like that were used, and then just very, very just done very well in composite and just very well like blended to look like natural, like actual scenes. And I think that will work a lot in the film's favor. For like a sequel. I think they can get these sequels off the ground really quick, whether they want to do another one or another two. I think they can get them made on a smaller budget, made pretty efficiently if they lean into more like I'm saying, like more craft building, what I feel like they did with this film, which a lot of handiwork. I think a lot of miniature work. In the credits, it looked like they had a lot of craftsmen on crew for this, maybe more than visual effects artists. They had a lot of like actual craftsmen working on this film, and I wouldn't be surprised if and that would bode well really for getting these sequels made efficiently, within budget efficiently, and I think really quickly and really well done, because it was just seamless in these films, and I love that.
And more space bagpipes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That was killer.
Well, that's where the budget went. That's why.
That was awesome. That came out of nowhere, and it totally worked.
I guess they're Scottish.
It really did work.
The guy just walks out with bagpipes. I'm like, sure.
Well,
yeah,
he
but then
walked
when like the
out.
chorus hits, like when the rest of them hit, I was like, oh!
And then they
God.
kept calling back to it with the theme for House Atreides, which I love.
There was a
Wait, so
distinct
his
lack of
grandfather
pugs,
was really
though.
just like one of the bull people? Like that sounded so
Like, were there still
dumb for me to
people-
say,
like,
but
it's like 2101. Like, were
no,
there
it's like
still
10,000 and
people?
it's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
10,191. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, your grandfather was a
Were there still
bull?
matadors? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that
Matador
confused the hell out of me. I was like, wait, your dad, yeah, your
Damn,
grandfather
who's
was.
still
Spice is
still
a hell of a
bull
drug.
cheesing? Yeah.
Spice is a hell of a drug, Marisol.
I guess so.
But I'll tell you, actually, one other big thing this movie did that I thought was actually ingenious, because it actually very clearly and very well explained what spice actually was, which is,
Yes.
oh, it's oil. Okay, spice is oil. Cool. Makes sense. Like,
Well, I mean, obviously, there's
oil
the
you can
allegory of
smoke.
them stealing it from people in the Middle East. I mean,
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's okay, cool. We're doing okay. That's what this movie is, and from there, and I really love this movie, and I cannot wait for the sequel that will eventually come in 2024, because I have no
Dude,
faith.
how nuts would it be if they literally like drop a trailer like next year and they were just like, we secretly
way-
already shot part of like part two. I would.
Hey, by the way, yeah, Villeneuve was hating on HBO Max just because marketing, and we were playing all of yous for fools. All right, does anyone else have anything they want to add?
distinct lack of pugs.
Fair.
Mm.
Fair.
Call me.
I do think
Timothy.
it's pretty cool that Warner Brothers trusted Denis after, like Blade Runner was such a flop, to like make like this giant big budget. It is like, I mean, I know it's not like, this A24 movie. It's like, it's Warner Brothers, it's a giant budget, but it is cool like to see that a non-comic book movie, and like, yeah, it's a well-known IP, but there's still plenty of people that don't know what Dune is. So it's cool to see Warner Brothers take a chance on this. And I honestly think like in a normal year, I think this would have crushed at the box office, honestly, because like the hype was real. I was at a completely sold out IMAX showing, and like all the shows.
You actually did go to it?
I did go to it. I double masked, and I was looking tonight, but literally Dolby, like, because like AMC has like Dolby, they've got the Real D, they've got the IMAX, all of them only front row available. Like everything was just like completely sold out. So
I mean, JTE put up on Twitter that they were meant
what
to
an
go
idiot!
they were going to go see it tonight, and he bought tickets for tomorrow instead.
On
Yeah.
accident.
On accident. So, but that goes to illustrate the fact that that's a big deal. He can't get tickets again for tonight
Yeah.
is
Just assume they refer tonight.
Yeah.
I
like
I looked at all 3 AMC's in Burbank. And then I looked at City Walk, and it was just like nothing. Like everything is full.
I know that's that's it's opening weekend, and that's also LA, but that's
still a
Oh,
pretty
my
big
theater
deal.
was full, like capital
Yeah.
FULL. Like I've never been more uncomfortable because I had to sit next to another human being that I don't know for the first time in almost 2 years. Like totally worth it though.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm boosted. I was double masked. People next to me were wearing masks, so I was fine. But please, people, do your comfort level. Don't make us force you to go see the movie, but please go see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
3
guys,
3 p.m. matinees.
Yeah.
Sitting
At home watching it on HBO, sitting at home watching on HBO Max because we can't see it in the theater. Please, I am begging you, AMC, have at least one IMAX still playing Dune in December. I am begging you, please.
Oh, so that's why you have the whole Sony pushing Spider-Man out. You just want it for your.
Well, no, that too, but also
that'll teach you, Jacob, for talking about Halloween Kills for 2 weeks before I could see it.
Okay, but that's the reason we weren't reviewing Halloween Kills tonight because
we're still not allowed to talk about it. We're still under embargo. We still have another week of embargo. So
because they were that confident on it.
So bad.
Anyway.
Made $50 million bucks.
I can neither confirm nor deny if it is bad because I
will confirm for you, Taylor.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's not that bad.
All right,
Let's
guys.
be honest.
All right,
it's
to
not the
close
best
this off.
story. Yeah.
Close this off. I'm just gonna say, Paul Atreides fucks. Everyone go see the movie.
Yes,
time.
Timothy Chalamet, give me a call.
Leto
Yeah, give me a
Atreides
call.
fucks. Let's be honest here. Leto
True.
Atreides.
Oh my God, right?
That
But
is
Goddard,
zaddy
does
stuff
Tommy
right there.
Doyle fuck?
That is.
Oh, which
Come
one?
here, come here, Jason. I got something for your ass. I don't know why I got a New York accent living in Haddonfield, but we're
I got old Huckleberry here.
We're gonna gobba get this guy.
I go grab my baseball bat.
All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up there. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone here for hanging out with us. And
Everyone's links are in the description if you want to find people on social media.
guys,
You can find most of them here most of the time anyway.
and
So
apparently,
I'll be
they
here
just
tomorrow.
basically live on this channel. And guys, tomorrow is the big day from 2 p.m. PST. You'll have seen that Mara is
Big day.
baking
You guys
a
are getting married? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Sorry, that's just how people always say it.
We are paying for us to be able to go to the States and for we're paying for us to be able to get over for Spectacular. So tomorrow is our big fundraiser. Please join us from 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Jacob's going to be doing backyard wrestling stunts all day.
Yes.
Here are all of the things that we could possibly doing our stretch goals for tomorrow. So if you want, if you are able to. If you want to join in on random brackets, if you want to ask questions for the panel, and if you want to join in on a round of Jackbox tomorrow, join us from 2 p.m. tomorrow, and please donate. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to get absolutely messy and be a lot of fun.
Well, and I've been making the aforementioned cake for baking lessons with Mara. So that's what I've been up to.
Jacob, can you go full screen on me real quick, and I'll just show you the seating chart for this. Guys, should I get that seat right there? Should I get that one? That's the 10:30 IMAX in 30 minits. Should I just
I think you should.
Can you take me off full screen, please? It's really uncomfortable.
We want you there.
Just
all
like,
day,
hey guys,
man.
sorry, I'm just here to watch the movie.
Yep.
Touch me.
Don't touch me.
But yeah, that's so I'm very hopeful for the box office of this movie. I think it's going to do very well.
Yes, I really hope it does too, because I want this sequel. I want many films from this franchise with this cast. And I really want a piece of Mara's cake. So send it to Bob.
I do too.
Oh, I'm making cake pops too because I have a lot of extra cake. So hold on, we're moving. So I bake
Send
it
me to
in a sheet tray.
Massachusetts.
I bake it in a sheet tray, and then here's a really satisfying thing. I use this enormous 8-inch cake cutter, and hold on.
Wow.
Push it in.
I'm just always so impressed by just like the amount of stuff Mara has for baking. Like,
Right?
That's awesome.
That is awesome. I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow. So yes, if you want to join us from 2 p.m. tomorrow, pretty much everyone here is coming on at least at some point tomorrow. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and it's going to be a lot of
Zendaya's
fun.
joining us, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Apparently, according to Abby, Zendaya is joining us.
She better be.
Thank you for arranging that, Abby.
Rebecca Ferguson over there.
All right, guys. Until then, yeah, and then obviously we're back with the bracket show on Sunday. We took last week off, but we will be back on Sunday.
Yes.
And after last week's 2 weeks ago's episode, we needed a week off and a bit of a break up before everyone started murdering.
and Tim,
us.
you can't say Halloween Kills is for people that love Halloween 4 through 6 when they obliterated Halloween 4 through 6 with the last Halloween movie. They said they didn't fucking exist. You can't have your cake and eat it too unless you're Mara.
I do agree with that statement.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. And we will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. PST.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.